Coming up, we're trying out a new segment we're calling Disney Manners 101, or more succinctly, how not to be a jerk in a Disney theme park. Coming to you from the Hershey, Pennsylvania DISME to raise money for Give Kids the World, this is the DIS Unplugged. Welcome to the show, coming to you from the Hershey DISME to raise money for Give Kids the World. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends Jenny Lynn Knopp, Kathy Whirling, Teresa Eccles, Sean Thompson, and back in the production nook, which does not have a camera today, Dustin West, our producer, Craig Williams, our associate producer. And since it was made Facebook official, congratulations to Craig and Kylie on getting engaged.
Yay.
And let me just be the first to say it's about damn time. He's had the ring since November. But better late than never. He got a great girl, and we're so happy, and congratulations. So like I said, our segment this week, we decided, we've kind of been thinking about doing this, and we thought this would be a great place to try it out. Disney Manners 101. We hear about it all the time. We've all, those of us who've been to the parks on any kind of regular basis have had the experience of, people not always having really great manners when they're in the parks. So I challenged the team to come up with some examples of that. Also, though, I want to talk about some experiences, at least I've had, and hopefully you've had, of where people really stepped up and were very nice. I've had more than a few experiences like that, especially when I am in the parks with my mom. My mom seems to bring that out in people, though. But I even see cast members that just fall all over themselves for my mom, which is nice to see. Nice to see. But we want to talk a little bit about some of that because we think that kind of talking a little bit about how to behave in public, at Disney World in particular. I get it. It's hot. It's crowded. It's expensive. And, especially, I look at the moms in particular that are carrying, bags of stuff through the parks, trying to, juggle the kids. I don't know how you do it, because I can barely handle going in the park with her. But...
Hey. Is that why we don't go to the park anymore?
That's right.
Okay.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about that. When I think about this, the first word that comes into my mind is parade. Oh. If you want to see the worst of humanity, experience a parade, especially at the Magic Kingdom. My favorite are the people, you're sitting there for an hour holding your seat, and I see all the heads going up and down. We all know this story. 5 minutes before the parade starts, up comes the family of 7 that think they should stand in front of you. And that drives me up a wall. Everybody knows when the parades are. If you don't, they hand you this thing on the way in that kind of tells you when it is. And you've got to get, especially if you want to be on Main Street, during the parade. Otherwise, go to Frontierland. You can always find a great spot 10 minutes before a parade further down the route. But the other thing that also bothers me are the people that wait for an hour and then, okay, mom and dad, no, you're going to wait in the back. But you know what? Let their kids stand in front of you. Let the kids sit in front of you. That bothers me too, that the kids aren't going to be able to see over. Don't blame the kids because the parents didn't plan. They're not going to block your view. let them stand in front of you. That's something I see all the time. And I mean, I've seen it get close to breaking out into a fist fight during parade. It's Disney World. Mm-hmm. It's Disney World, but it's everybody's trying to have an experience, and especially I honestly think the more expensive it gets, the more aggressive people get, because there is that feeling of, I'm spending all this money, I need to get as much out of this as possible. So I think people tend to get a little more aggressive. Who else has an example, though, of bad behavior in the parks?
Oh, I do. I didn't bring my prop with me, but of course, if you follow me on Facebook, you know that I'll be standing there for an hour waiting to see something, and here the person in front of me puts up the iPad. And you have to watch the parade through the iPad.
We have it being demonstrated.
Yes, we do. We have a prop over there. I don't know. I guess I come from the world of photographers where everybody tries to be aware of everybody's space. And if you have to take that picture, maybe you step back a little bit so somebody else can get that picture. But people with iPads are just terrible.
If you are taking a picture with an iPad, buy a camera.
Yes.
It's going to take better pictures, and it doesn't make you look quite as stupid as walking around like this. That drives me insane, too, seeing the people with the eye. Buy a camera. Do you have a cell phone? Use your cell phone.
But be considerate of the people around you, because you don't know the person next to you. Maybe they're on their once-in-a-lifetime trip, and maybe they'd like to get the same picture you're trying to get.
Right.
Let everybody have a chance to get the picture.
Well, part of this is being mindful that you are not the only person in the park.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that kind of goes through my head a lot of times at Disney World. Oh, I forgot, you're the only one here. But you know what? I know that I can be guilty of that as well. If I'm going to be honest, I can be guilty of that as well, that I'm not always paying attention. One of the things I do that drives me crazy when it's done to me is when I'm not conscious of the fact that there is a wheelchair or someone in an ECV around me. And I will, I'll walk in front of it or just not be aware, and that drives me insane, especially when I'm with my mom. We were talking about my mom before. A couple times she's tried to do the ECV thing, but she's so afraid of running into somebody, and people don't make it easy when they jump right in front. And I'm sitting there saying to her, hit them. Just hit them. They'll learn real quick. But that, and so, I try and be mindful. I try and be mindful of that, but sometimes I'm not. It is about making the effort going in of saying, I'm not the only person here, and how can I be more mindful of what's going on around me? What about you, Teresa?
My biggest one is I'm clipping down Main Street trying to get where I want to go, and the people in front of me are moving right along, and all of a sudden they just stop for no reason. I'm sure they have a reason.
They're just spontaneously stopping right in the middle of the walkway.
And then we all just pile up into each other, and it just takes me off. I don't know, that, and this is kind of a go anywhere kind of a place, but this always ticks me off. When you're in the restroom and you're getting ready to leave, make sure you clean up after yourself before you go out.
What is up with that?
Yeah.
It's just wrong. I don't care. Because do you do that at home? No, you don't. Right?
Okay.
I hope they don't
Experience a men's room once.
No, thank you.
Oh my God.
The women are nasty enough.
No, they can't possibly be worse than the men. I was I was in Atlanta. Our connection was in Atlanta yesterday, and I went to go walk into one stall. I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with people?
Didn't mommy teach you or daddy teach you how to aim it? Because that's just wrong.
It's
nasty. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's my big one, but that's a universal.
Yeah,
one.
somebody has to go into that bathroom after you.
Yeah.
So,
Craig. Make it right. I know your daddy taught you.
Did he? No, his mother's going, no.
Because now, you know what? After engagement comes marriage, and then you got to keep that toilet seat down. But you already know that, right?
I feel feel like we're going on a tangent.
Okay, sorry, I'm done.
Craig looks like he's going to throttle you.
I know.
The look on
I'm getting
Craig's
the
face
look.
right now.
I know.
He's got when he gets that blank smile on his face because he never smiles.
It is scary.
The smile usually means there's violence coming.
I see the love in his eyes.
How about you, Shawnee?
Mine's pretty similar to what you guys were saying, especially the stopping dead in your tracks on Main Street. And I think a lot of that has to do with cell phones. I see a lot of people just stop, and this isn't just at Disney, this is everywhere, just stopping and staring at your cell phone, or even just walking really slow, staring at your cell phone.
Well, walking slow is okay, but the staring at
Oh,
the
that
cell
bothers
phone.
me. Yeah.
Does it bother you walking
I try
slow?
to pass, and then there's
They're trying
people
to
that
take it all
walk.
in.
Oh, here's a better one. People that walk 5 people across.
Oh, the whole family with their little names on the back of their heads.
Arms locked down Main Street. Yeah.
And there's you can't go to the left, you can't go to the right, you can't get around them. What do you do in that situation?
I bet there's people
Is it
here
okay
like
to say,
that.
excuse me, can I walk past you?
Yeah.
Step to the left, or what was it? What was it? We were at the airport, and we were on the
She
little
goes,
moving sidewalk, and this...
Move to the right, please. I'm
Oh, no,
coming
she
through.
said it worse than that. She was like I'm not even going to say what it is because I'm where I'm at, whatever. But she came up behind us, and she's just like, she was a mean, hateful woman.
She was a witch.
She was a witch.
Yeah, she didn't
Rhymes
have her
with.
patience when she was in the airport. She didn't listen to what I
No.
said.
She
Wait,
should
are
have
we
said-
talking about Jenny Lynn?
Yeah, we are.
No, we are not. I'm always very well-mannered.
But no, but I think you have the right to say, can you please, excuse me, right?
Yeah, of
You can say
course.
that.
Instead, I just passively aggressive cough or something,
Cough.
so they know that someone's behind them.
Or stand there and just wait. No, I don't have time for that.
Tap my foot.
No, this chick was definitely like, move to the side, please. I'm coming through.
No, she didn't say please.
Well,
No.
move to the side. I'm coming through.
Oh, you should have tripped her.
Step to the left, yeah.
Should've-
Let's move to the side and
Jenny
leave one foot
Lynn
behind.
turned around and she went,
I think she heard me.
thank you. It was fun. Cool.
What about you, Jenny Lynn?
Mine has to do with being a mom's perspective, and this does happen in other places, but it specifically happens in the Haunted Mansion almost without fail. Part of this is Disney's fault for not designing a better queue, but you know that funnel effect that you get when you're getting ready to get in the line?
Yeah.
People always separate me from my children because we come from this like big cattle herding.
They grabbed them out of your hands or what?
No, they cut them off. It's mommy duckling with the little ducklings following behind, and they separate the mommy duckling from the little ducklings, and that's not right. And I get upset because they're my kids, and I don't want to lose them in this big mass of people. So we have taken to holding hands. And so if somebody is going to separate us, they get the, Red Rover, that game everyone plays, Red Rover, let somebody come over. They get that effect where they run into the hands, and then it's definitely an offense because it's like, oh, you touched my kids. But anyway, that's what I don't like. People need to just be more aware to not try to break up the groups that are together. Either ask or something that I try to do when I'm in the line, because I go to the parks a lot by myself as well. And we're in that funnel trying to get into the single file for Haunted Mansion, I will say to whoever's near me, where's the end of your group? And then I will go in after them.
Right.
But that just drives me nuts. It happens in all of the places in the park, specifically Haunted Mansion, though, or people walking through and they just cut you off, and, your kids end up back here and they're, Mom, I don't like that.
But on the other hand, have you ever been, like, I understand it there, but you'll be walking in the park and there'll be 5 people holding hands, and there's no place for you to go, and you're headed towards this line, and nobody's breaking their hands. Now, where do you go?
You run
have
through
to
the line.
You have to either be patient and let them go, or
Well,
book it and get ahead. But don't
I don't have a
separate the group.
choice. It's like I'm going to run into somebody. I can't duck under
You
their
like being
hands.
pushed from behind or what?
Well, yeah, you know how there's a whole big crowd coming and
Yeah.
there's a crowd coming the other way. It's like, are you going to go? I can see like maybe 2 people holding hands or 3, but not 5.
Are these adults or little children?
Like a mom with her kids.
Well,
I'm just going to sit on the other side of the fence from you, Kathy, because I don't want to be separated from my children.
Well, no, I understand
I'm
it.
going to separate them.
I understand it like
Throw down.
at Haunted Mansion, but I mean like when you're walking down the street. Is there an etiquette for that?
Well, that's a little bit different. I mean, like you can say, hey, would it be all right to get through? If anybody said that to me, I'd be like, of course,
Just say, "Excuse
Miller,
me."
let them go by.
Excuse me.
Yeah, communication. Communication is really
that's
good,
also
everybody.
the other part. That's the other part of being mindful of the people around you. I mean, it's not hard to tell when a group has been separated in a line, and step back and let them pass. Let them catch up with their group. I want to be with my group. And again, but I see people get like real guarded in their position in line. 3 people in front of you is not going to affect the 300-minute wait for Anna and Elsa that you've got going on.
The ride is still going to be there. The character is still going to be there. It's what's 3 more minutes. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I have another pet peeve, but it actually, there's 2 sides to this. I am one of those pack mule moms. When I go with my kids, I always have my backpack on, and I used to carry a gallon of water. That's a true story for everybody. You have a big
Gallon
family.
for everybody?
No.
It's like hurricane relief.
A gallon that we would all share. Very big on my water.
Flashlights.
Very survivor.
I'm a water snob. I have to drink my water. So anyway,
Wow.
it was a pretty extensive thing on my back, and people not watching where they're going and just ram into my backpack. And because I have so much extra weight on my back, and I'm a little person, it would
Tipped
just
you over.
totally throw me and almost knock me down. So, and it would happen all the time. But the flip side of that is that I also had to be more mindful of what I was doing, because I'm the one with the backpack, and if I go to turn to talk to somebody to my side,
You're taking out 6 people, yeah.
I'm taking out people as well, right? So
Bowling for tourists.
yeah, there's 2 sides to that. 2 sides to that one.
Do you still go with a giant backpack?
When I go with my kids, a lot of the times I do, but when I'm solo, I don't, because I like the freedom of being able to go through the guests without bags line. Boy, that's a treat.
Yeah, I rarely experience that line. Although lately I find that I'm trying to go into the parks unencumbered. I think with my back bothering me so much, I really can't carry a lot with me. Even like my little shoulder bag gets to be too much when you're walking a lot. So I've been going into the parks kind of free. And that's really
It's a good feeling.
It changes the
I just take it down to
experience.
the bare minimum. I got my credit card, my ID, and now especially we've got the magic bands, which are really, really nice. But I just take my little cards and I kind of stuff them in the vault over here, and I'm ready to go. There's no
Let's talk
bags.
about the vault at the airport. She didn't take everything out of the vault before she went through security.
And then, so they pulled. That's true. They pulled me aside and they were like, "Ma'am, we have something we need to check out." So I got patted down.
Is that like the
places
Disney
I-
vault?
Not quite the same thing. No, I got touched in a few places that I could have avoided that if I'd been a little smarter.
Well, okay. This went in a different direction. How about some of you guys? We have that mic set up there. By all means, come on, step up. Just give us your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm from Chalfont, Pennsylvania. It's about 2.5 hours away. I've experienced the rudeness from multiple angles. I've experienced it as a guest, and then I was also a cast member, and I was a merchandise cast member. And there was more than one occasion where people would just come up to my register and just start touching stuff. They would just come around and start reaching around, and it happened a lot with the tour groups. The kids would just grab something, shove it in my face, say, "How much? How much?" And I'd tell them the price, and then they would just reach around and start touching my register. And
my.
totally crossing, that goes way past rudeness, totally crosses the line. And I'm so glad that you brought up the thing about the iPads and the iPhones and looking at your phone and stopping dead in your tracks on Main Street. That is one of my biggest pet peeves, because when I go and I'm there at Rope Drop, I'm making a beeline for Tomorrowland. I'm riding Carousel of Progress, and I'm riding the People Mover right away. That's where I'm going. I know where I'm going. So when people just stop dead in Main Street, I'm like, okay, can you take a picture of the castle later? Or can you just everybody else is doing the exact same thing. And now I'm actually an agent for a competing company. I won't plug it.
Heretic.
I liked her for a
I
minute.
try to warn my clients. I try to say, be as prepared as you can. Know what times things are at. Give yourself enough time to get to the places you're going. Make sure you have all your groups together. And if you're in line waiting for an attraction, pay attention to how much of a gap there is in front of you. Don't just be wandering around looking at everything.
That drives me
And I know
insane.
there are the queues now that have the interactive cues where it's that's kind of
It makes
double-edged
it
sword.
much
It gives
more
you something to
difficult.
do. Yeah, but it holds up the line because people are playing with it at the same time. So and don't be swinging the ropes and the chains, and don't be climbing on the chains, and don't be hanging on the chains or sitting on it. And also, I'll stop doing that.
No, you're good.
Put a microphone in front of me and I'll just talk forever. But also, when people say fill in all available space, please fill in all available space. If you're in an attraction and you're in something where there are a lot of seats, move all the way to the end of the line. It's just follow directions, pay attention. It's so much better for everybody else. and just be aware of everybody around that's, and be nice to the cast members. They've been on their feet 12 hours a day, blazing hot, freezing cold. Florida does get cold sometimes. So just be aware of, how hard they're working, and be pleases and thank yous and excuse me's and stuff like that.
I think that Michelle brings up a really interesting point, something we're probably going to be seeing a lot more. I was at the mine train just 2 days ago, right, but the evening before we came here, right? And, that's a great interactive cue. Well, we had my friends and I had this very large family that was standing in front of us, and the children would get, glued to the interactive part of it, and the people, we were all moving around them to continue to go because they weren't filling in the space, as you were saying. Well, when they did that, as soon as they were done playing, they would come bombarding right through all of us, pushing us to the side to get back to the place where they were in line previously. And they did it like 3 times, and it was so rude every single time. I just felt like, well, if you're going to stop and play, then maybe you should take a new position in the line. And if not, definitely don't push everyone in order to get back to where you were. But my guess is that we're going to be seeing a lot more of that because of all of these interactive cues. I don't know what the answer is.
It's a double-edged sword. Where I see it the worst is on not Toy Story Mania, Buzz Lightyear. The Space Ranger spin, because right before you go to get onto the walkway where the cars are, there's that big animated Buzz Lightyear, and everybody wants to stop and take their picture with Buzz Lightyear in the background. So this line just comes to a grinding halt while Fellini is trying to figure out how to take a picture on his cell phone. And that's the other thing. If you're going to do that, know how to take a quick picture. Because these people, got to get the lighting right. Oh, the f-stop isn't right. Oh, stop it. Come on, let's go. The other thing, I didn't want this to be a bitch fest, but that's what it's turning into. When you're taking a picture of somebody, especially at the castle, on the bridge going into Liberty Square, and so you've got somebody on the railing with the castle, and then you're on the other side of the bridge taking the picture. And all foot traffic is supposed to stop. And these people don't understand why nobody will stop.
Don't stop at all with the PhotoPass people right there. They just walk right in front of the PhotoPass people while they're taking a picture. It's like, really?
Yeah. Well, that's the other side of being mindful, too, of saying, okay, a picture is being taken. I always, especially because I don't like people walking in my shots, but then again, I try not to let there be 40 feet between me and the person I'm taking a picture of.
Right.
But thank you very much, Michelle.
I would say there's a difference in taking a picture in an area where there's lots of people to move around you, and then taking a picture where you are completely halting everyone's ability to move through, such as on that bridge. There's nowhere to go. You can't get around them. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Teresa and I were having the discussion this morning about that you see people in the parks that do things that really aren't right, like jumping and going past people in a queue and things like that. I don't know, it seems like when I was raised, you didn't do things like that. I think people nowadays, it's like if I get it first, it's mine. And if you can come along behind me, that's fine, but I'm taking my time. It's all about them. But I don't remember being raised that way. Is that the way everybody is?
It's a different sad world now, Kathy.
This is becoming really depressing, guys.
Yeah, really.
No, I was just saying that, sometimes when you see things in the park, it's like, that's not how I was raised. Like if I got up to a queue line and there was somebody else there, go ahead of me. But nowadays you see people pushing in line, you see people it's like there's no exact rule that you can't do it, so people just figure now, I'm just going to do it because Disney said I can't. There is no rule for it. Do you know what I mean?
Right. One of the places I think I have found where guests seem to demonstrate really good manners on a regular basis is Fort Wilderness. There is something about that resort. A lot of people are first of all, how many people have been to Fort Wilderness? Okay, a few of us. Everybody's in golf carts. If you're staying there, whether you're on a campsite or in one of the cabins, everybody's in the golf carts. Almost without fail, every time you go by somebody in a golf cart, they wave and say hello. there's a lot of very polite people. It just seems to breed that atmosphere. We were at the Contemporary with my mom and my brother and my sister and niece a few weeks ago, and I saw a lot of that there too. People walking by saying good morning.
Oh, that's
It's a simple thing. It's a very, very simple thing, but it's a nicety that seems to have gone out of vogue in our society lately. Just saying hello to somebody. You don't have to know them. See, now, coming from Jersey and, spending a lot of time in New York City, I was kind of just not raised this way because my mother's not that way, but especially living in New York, everybody says, don't make eye contact, don't say anything to anybody. And if you don't want to, get into anything with anybody, just kind of look down and we'll keep walking. And I think some of us have the mindset to do that. Now, you can't walk through, God knows, you can't walk through Magic Kingdom and go, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Right.
They're going to think you're insane.
Bonjour, bonjour.
But
But if someone makes eye contact with you, it's okay to, smile or nod or say hi or. Can I do that?
Acknowledge
Yes.
people.
Their kids doing something cute or.
Because I think part of this, this rudeness or whatever you want to call it, is that, and I don't fault people for it because I do it too. We just kind of go into our own bubble. We're on vacation, we're having this experience, and we are, especially people like the people who are in this room. We spend a lot of time planning this vacation. We do a lot of research, a lot of money. And so we just kind of go into our own bubble and nobody else exists. And it's not because you're mean or you weren't raised right. It's just the circumstance. Also with Disney being as crowded as it is now, you're under assault. I mean, there is no personal space when you're in these theme parks, especially during the busier times of the year. And, when you add in the heat, when you add in the, your children are getting cranky because they've been on their feet for 9 hours and they're hungry and they're tired. And, I think we can be a little bit more understanding of that as well. We all talk about the kid who's crying and why don't you take him out of the theater or why don't you do this? I really do try and stop and say, okay, it's Disney World. If you don't want to hear kids crying, don't come. Because I was one of those people that's like, oh God, just get the kid out of here. But then, it goes to the territory. You're going to go to Disney World, expect that you're going to come across a child or two. And that, kids are going to be kids. Kids are going to be kids, especially younger ones. And I feel for the parents. I feel for the parents that, are thinking about, like, oh, God, crying. And like I say, I see the moms with the massive backpacks like they're going on Survivor.
It feels like that.
And I don't know how, I honestly to God, I don't know how they do it. Who else wants to come up and share some?
Oh, Lord. It's Sue.
I'm Sue from Philadelphia.
Hey, Sue.
And it's kind of going along with what you were saying. I was thinking about all the nice manners. And one of my favorite things about Disney World is you can talk to everybody. Like, especially on the buses, I think we've met people that we're like friends with now, not just through the Diz community, but just in the parks.
Just riding the buses?
Yeah, like you can talk to people.
She's that crazy lady that just rides the buses.
I know. That might be a little true, but I'll talk to anyone everywhere, but it's acceptable at Disney World to like talk to people and when you're waiting for the parade and all of those. So I always encourage people when it's their first trip, talk to people because all the people there, you have a lot of time where you're just standing with people. You might as well talk to them and be nice.
And you're all there for a fun reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot harder to be rude when you know who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So then you're not going to cut me off in line or,
Good answer.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I wanted to bring a little lightness
That
and
was
happiness.
nice, yeah.
But that's actually, you raise a really good point. Because I think when you're dealing, I was saying before, dealing with those crowds, it is very impersonal, and you tend to get desensitized to the existing. They're not people; they're just this massive thing that keeps coming at you.
Yeah.
And when you kind of put that personal face on it, that personal edge to it, all of a sudden that person becomes real, and it's a lot harder. We find this on the internet all the time. People can get really rude, hidden by the anonymity of a screen name.
Right.
And then they get right up to your face, and all of a sudden they're really, really nice. And I think the same thing, in a way, is true here, that when it is made personal and you do make a personal connection with somebody, even if it is just simply a conversation on a bus.
Well, or you make your own magic moments by like making the baby that's crying smile because you engage that kid and you give that mom a break for 2 seconds, or I just think it's up to all of us as fans to be like that. But I would encourage everybody to be like that. I think that makes it more fun for everybody.
I would say too, talk to the cast members. We see all the time that cast members are this or that. Take the time to talk to a cast member. And you might find out all kind of neat things, or they might do something for you, or you just might have brightened their day. So don't be afraid to talk to a cast member.
And Disney has this thing that is really great as far as conversation starters, these little buttons that they hand out for everyone's special occasions. That is an easy way to strike up a conversation because
happy
obviously,
birthday, whoever.
Something big and important has happened in that person's life. I love it when we go to the parks and, it's a birthday and we've got a birthday button, and it's not just the cast members, but a lot of times you'll find that the other guests, as you're walking by, happy birthday, it still catches me by surprise, but, to have the complete strangers, reach out and kind of, make that nice gesture. And it gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling. It makes your day a little better.
One of the things that you were talking about, buses and monorails, one of the things that happens a lot that I really appreciate is when my mom gets on a bus or we get on the monorail, the number of people that will get up to give her their seat. And I've said this in the show before, if you are an able-bodied man and you're on a bus or a monorail and a woman, I don't care if it's a younger woman, older woman, mom, whatever, get up and give her your seat. There is no reason not to. But like I say, I do notice something, and I don't know if it's just, what it is necessarily, other than my mom is a really sweet lady, and she just looks like a really sweet lady, and people just respond to her like that. But it really does make me feel good when I'm in the parks with her and I see how people treat her. 83 years old.
Yeah.
And, God bless her, going strong. She gets around the parks better than I do, and I'm not kidding.
She doesn't complain.
No, never. Never. She loves it. She loves it. As long as she can, take her time and nobody rushes her, she's fine. But just kind of watching how people are with her, it's nice to see that even when the park is crowded and things like that they'll either strike up a conversation with her, hold the door for her, things like that. Because I don't. I just, get the door yourself. No, I'm kidding. She's actually up in New Jersey right now. Yeah. She's doing her bi-yearly tour of the family.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, but yeah, she gets around great, and that makes me feel good when I see stuff like that. But it also bothers me, if I'm sitting on a monorail or on, much more rarely the bus, but if I'm sitting and especially if I see a woman come in with a baby in her arms, get up, let her sit down.
People aren't taught that anymore, though.
Yeah, they are. I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. I mean,
A lot of people aren't.
a lot of
taught
people
that.
aren't, but there still are people that.
I
are
know
taught
you
that.
were.
Yeah.
Who else? Somebody else has got to have some experiences here.
Hi, I'm Phil from Mahopac, New York, and I was trying to think of positive behaviors I've seen, and what I like that I hear about people doing is they bring kind of pre-made thank you cards, and they pass them out to cast members that do a good job, or even to other guests if they see them do a good job. And I was also kind of thinking that's one thing I miss about Fast Pass Minus is that
I am going to start using that term.
it is at the end of the day, if we had some we didn't use, we would give them to people
Give them
coming
away.
into the park, and you can't really do that.
Can't do that anymore.
But those types of things I think go a long way and are very thoughtful.
That's a great point. That we've heard that before. People that come with little pre-made thank you cards. What I don't walk around with thank you cards, but what I do is I'm going to make sure I go out of my way if someone's done a great job or really been exceptional, I'm going to go as far out of my way to talk to that person's manager as I would if it was had gone the other way. So I really try to go out of my way to recognize, and not just to the cast member, but to their manager. That leaves an impact. That leaves an impact on their bosses. I know for me, when we get those compliments about agents or my team, that leaves an impact on me.
And that's really great to do, because how many people say their trip was made special because of some amazing cast member or something, and you want them recognized for that?
Well, I actually, it wasn't with Disney, but with my cable company, I had to have a guy come out last week, and he was amazing. And the last time they had come out, that wasn't my experience, and believe me, I was on the phone. So I made sure I stopped what I was doing, got right on the phone, got somebody and told them, this guy was awesome. Take that time. Take that time to compliment them. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
There's also a flip side to that. Again, I'm sorry, I'm a mom, so this is all going to come from a mom's perspective. But we haven't done the thank you card yet thing, though, but I think that I might. But because it's not just the person who's receiving, but it's also the person who's giving. Like I said, with children, that's a teachable moment. We used to do that fast pass thing that you were talking about, because sometimes I would be at media events and we'd get what was called a media fast pass, which was unlimited fast passes that were, right then and there, we could get on any ride. So what I would often do with the kids is, rather than us going on the rides, we would go to around where the kiosk area is and just randomly stop a person and say, hey, did you want to get on Peter Pan right now? How many people are in your party? And they'd, look all confused, but then we'd kind of explain, and then we just walk them right over to a kiosk and get them, 5, 7 fast passes or whatever, so that they could go on the ride right then. And I wasn't necessarily doing it for the benefit of the people who were receiving the fast passes, but I was doing it for the benefit of my children. It was a teachable moment. And the thank you card is the same thing. If you have kids, teaching them to be grateful. So,
Right.
There's definitely a flip side to that, the receiver and the giver.
And it's funny, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about when Disney did the Year of a Million Dreams, where they were randomly going up to guests and doing something really special. I thought that was wonderful. I wish it hadn't just been a marketing thing.
Yeah.
And that it should have been, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. How cool it was that they would just randomly pick somebody and say, okay, you're going to get a night in the Dream Suite, or you're going to get a fast passes for the day, or whatever it was they would do. That kind of random act of kindness was really cool.
Just going back to the notes to cast members, I did my college program 5 years ago, and I still have the handful of cards, or sometimes people
Wow.
brought candies or something, but it just said, thank you from the Wilson family or whatever. And it was just a nice little gesture that they gave you. So I still have that stuff. I mean, it was a really nice touch to get that from people.
You got all boxed up and you
Yeah, I
pull
have
it
a
out
bunch of
and
my
read them.
cast member memories. Yeah.
That's cool.
That is cool, though.
Who else?
Follow up on the thank you. I'm Penny from Philadelphia. The Creative Designs Forum has lots of designs that people could go and get. And what we did one year with the kids was we thanks a mint. They had a whole bunch of little things that you could cut out, say thanks a mint, and you put it on the side of outside of a candy mint. And then we had the kids, as you said, teaching them manners, to give one to a cast member that made them smile. And so we brought
Wow.
couple pocketfuls of mints, and then the kids would go up to a cast member and say thank you, and they said thanks a mint from the Evans family. So it was just
That's awesome.
and I guess some other people were doing the same thing.
Yeah,
and
no, it means a lot.
Yeah,
It's really nice to
so-
get. Yeah.
And they have, you're saying we have templates on the
We have
Creative
templates.
Designs Forum on Disboards.
Yep, on the Disboards in the creative design section.
Okay, we'll make sure we put a link to that. That's really cool. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that was there.
Yeah, so
So thank you. Appreciate that. You see, it's such an easy gesture. I mean, this doesn't really takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of time, but it's not like this major investment you have to make. And I think when you say that 5 years later you still have these.
Oh, yeah.
That's an impact. I mean, that's something that makes an impact.
Because, cast members deal with a lot, and I know you have lots of stories, I'm sure, from Katie. But you go through a lot. So to have one of those experiences, it's really nice.
Well, that would be one of the other things I think probably has to be at the top of the list for Disney Manners 101 is how you talk to and treat a cast member. If you have a problem with a policy, if you have a problem with them, enforcing something, don't take it out on them. They're not the ones making the rules. They're the ones put on the front line. And trust me, they are not getting paid anything close to enough to take your crap. They are not getting paid anything close to enough. And just, if you've got a problem, that's what the manager is there for. That's what guest relations is there for. Don't take it out on the cast members. The way I've heard people talk to cast members absolutely blows my mind that anybody would talk to another person like that. And look, I'm not saying that I can't get my back up, but even, I was talking about the cable company and the frustration I had. I knew not to take it out on the woman that answered the phone. She wasn't the one that was the problem. This was a management problem, so I wanted to direct that to a manager. And the same thing holds true at Disney, that the cast member is not writing policy here. And a lot of times, though, they're the ones that are going to take the brunt of it.
And I would say, if you have a problem and you approach a cast member, let the cast member have 15, 20 seconds to offer a solution. Because, sometimes when people are wound up, it's like, well, this happened and you need to do this and that. If you let the cast member think a little bit, sometimes you might get a magical moment out of it, or you might, because we get a lot of people that want certain things at a resort. And it has to be the corner room, it has to be this, it has to be that. Sometimes if you just walk up and say, hey, have a nice day, how's this? You might find yourself in a much better room than you ever thought you wanted.
Oh, I agree with that. I had a client that, sweetest client in the world, and she's always sweet. And I every time I get an email from her, I know it's going to be a positive email. Even if she has a problem, it's going to be a positive email. And it makes you want to go out of your way to make a good experience for that person.
Right, exactly.
So, definitely.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm Brienne from Annapolis via Harrisburg. I grew up here. And I was talking about cast members. We were in Disney World this past November, and I took my mom down for the first time in a very long time. My mom is a smoker, I am not, and she forgot her cigarettes. And we were staying on property without a car. And so Disney World is not the place you want to stop smoking.
No?
So, we're having a
It's also not the place you want to buy cigarettes. They charge a fortune.
Exactly. So I was desperately needing to find her cigarettes before we dissolved into insanity. So we were kind of having this argument outside the Magic Kingdom, and a cast member noticed and came over and just probably wanted to figure out what was going on between these two ladies. And she was so kind. She took my mother on the monorail, took her over to Grand Floridian, took her into the gift shop, and found her cigarettes. And it really saved our vacation. But it was a very small thing, but she didn't have to. She could have let us argue clearly all the way back to the Wilderness Lodge.
Right.
But she just noticed something was wrong and figured she could make it better. And my mother still loves her to this day.
See, and that sort of, when a cast member goes out of their way to make a moment like that, and the impact it can have. I mean, I remember things from 15 years ago that I can still remember a cast member, I can still remember an experience that it stays with you. And, it used to be Disney drilled this into cast members and empowered them to do a lot more of it. I used to see it happen a lot more than I see it happen now, unfortunately. I would like to see them go back to it, but it's one of the reasons we started doing the Hall of Fame was because those cast members are out there, and we want to point out, on whatever small scale we can, want to point out these cast members who do these incredible things to make any experience on your vacation that special, even something like that. Like you said, just get on the monorail, go over to the Grand, and get a pack. I thought you were going to say the cast member handed her a pack of cigarettes.
I know, me too.
That would have been great because she's going to resort to buying people in the cigarette section. I'm like, we can't do this. You can't act like that in Disney World.
Yeah, you can. We're all in the same war, okay? The smokers, we're all in the same war. We understand. Thank you. But what? You gonna say something?
No, I'm good.
I'm surprised we haven't discussed strollers yet.
You know, it's one of those things with strollers that, okay, like the dialogue in my head is get that thing out of my way, and it's not like a regular stroller. I'm talking about like the triple wides that have to take up 70 feet, and it's like, God, that's obnoxious. Why do you have this massive thing? And then I'm realizing, you know, you've got 3 small kids, or you got 2 small kids. What are you going to do? Although I thought Corey and Julie, you know, their stroller, they have that inline stroller.
It's like a big, yeah.
So it's like 1, 2, and I'm like, okay, maybe Disney should invest in those to rent.
Although moving one of those, speaking as a grandmother, sometimes that's like driving the tank.
Really?
Even with it behind it. I can remember when, you know, I first started having grandkids, I couldn't wait to go through Magic Kingdom with a stroller. Because I'm
To
like,
knock people down?
well, it's like, okay, now I'm just going to take my stroller through Magic Kingdom like everybody else does.
That's the way you do it.
It's not very glamorous.
Well,
No,
and then I
it's
found out it's really hard to go
It's
through
really
the park
hard work.
with a stroller because you're trying to pay attention to what you're doing so you're not running into, but then you have those clueless people that just walk
Guys,
right into you.
Yeah.
I remember the first time we went when Stella was little and we came down and we had a stroller, and I hated it. I'm like, I don't like doing it because it really, I didn't like it at all. So the next time we came down, I just forced her to walk. It's like, you're walking, chick. I'm not pushing that.
Yeah. I've been on both sides of it. I've been clipped by strollers. That hurts
It
a
is.
lot. And then I've turned around to the people and think, how could they be so rude and terrible? But I've also been on the flip side where I'm pushing the stroller, and there's times, especially at the end of the night, and you're trying to get off of Main Street, where people will cut you off, and then you halt the stroller immediately so you don't run into them. And then because they've cut in front of you, then everybody starts cutting, and you actually are stuck at a standstill and can't go anywhere because no one will let you move, and you're such a mass that you can't just get through. And so it creates stroller rage. You're like, you're forced to just start like being aggressive and running into people if you expect to get anywhere. It's
Children are screaming, hanging
it's
off
a
the
vicious
front.
cycle.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good.
I'm Cynthia. I'm from North Ridgeville, Ohio. And I have a comment and a question. One of our times when we were at Epcot and Push started talking to our youngest daughter, having a conversation with her, and she was talking to Push. And there were other children that were kicking Push and screaming at him and everything. And so this went on for a few minutes, and so finally, I'm like, listen, there's no parents coming. I'm like, you need to stop. I'm like, stop. You don't act like that. And so my question is, do you think it's okay to tell people, like Jenny Lynn's example the other night when she's in the park, and these people are like, going back up, in line.
Speaking to the children, speaking to someone else's children. Boy, I was really tempted, let me tell you. They were rude and they were pushing, and they did it like 3 or 4 times.
I think you have a right, don't you? To some
I
extent.
have before. I've actually been kicked by someone else's child while I was standing in line just because the parents weren't paying attention, and the child thought that it would be funny to kick a stranger in the shin. I don't know. I don't know where they come from. I don't know where these people come from, but like they're actually there and they're in the Disney parks. But I had to say something on that occasion. I was like, "Oh, you won't be doing that again."
See, I really have to defer to parents on that question because, my feeling, for me personally, I'm probably not going to say something to somebody else's kids.
What about adults, though, too?
Adults, I got no problem with that.
Okay.
I got no problem with
I think it
that.
depends on what the child is doing.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
I would say that would be a case by case.
If the child is
basis.
hurting someone or doing something,
Sure.
that they shouldn't be doing in a park, I'll say something to them probably. I have something, in a.
Or you
I
give
always do
them
it in a
stink eye.
humorous way. Or give them the stink eye. That'll take
A lot
them
of
down.
times that actually works.
Yeah.
That'll take
The
them down.
mom face.
That's right.
Yeah, give them the look. Because my kids run in
I'm
fear
real
of
good
the
at the
look.
look.
Yeah, I got that perfected. But yeah, I think it's okay to say something to them. I would.
There's a way to say something and be firm, but not be rude or aggressive or inappropriate.
See, that's my problem.
I wouldn't say.
No, honestly, I just especially if I'm frustrated and kind of, like I said, there's that sensory overload going on. in the moment, I don't think anything of just, whatever's on my mind. There's no edit, and it comes right. I know all of you have a very hard time believing that. But, what I really try and do more now, I think, than I have in the past, is just for a second try and put myself in that person's shoes. That just take a fraction of a second to be a little bit more considerate.
That would solve so many of the problems. Or I think about the people that gripe when you have a wish kid that comes through and has to you have to put yourself to the side while they take care of whatever their wish situation is. I've seen so many people gripe and complain because they have to wait another 15 or 20 minutes to see Ariel or something.
There's a special place in hell for them. There's a special place in hell for those people.
No, seriously though, if you put yourself in the other person's shoes, I have a godson who has multiple problems, and life is so hard for that family every single day, and to think that somebody would, if they were in that situation, to think that somebody would complain about I have to wait another 15 minutes to talk to Ariel. Wow, we just have such a great opportunity there to give, and be please take my spot in line to go see Ariel. Let's make your life a little bit easier, because every other day of the year, your life is really, really hard,
Exactly. Well, that's one of the scenarios where you take a moment to be grateful for what you have. And, say there, but for the grace of God go I. And I think that is a perfect note on which to end this. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you to the team that put together this amazing meet. You did a tremendous job. You have our gratitude. We still don't know how much has been raised yet, but it doesn't matter, because this is already a great success, and we are so thankful to you for the hard work you put in to putting on this meet. And that will do it for this episode of the DIS Unplugged. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next time. Have a great week, everybody, and remember, stay out of the damn lakes. Have a good one.